What up, Baker?
What's happening?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. It's Thursday night of LSU Alabama. Starting to feel a little bit more and trying not to reach a fever pitch too soon. You want to hit that high mark right at game time, but as a fan of Alabama and just a fan of this game, man, it's tough to not be excited all week.
Yeah, somebody has a big game this week. I mean, I don't know if Clemson and FSU is a big game anymore, but you guys definitely have a big game. So I'm excited to watch, you guys in a big rivalry. All right, so let's get started. LSU versus Bama. Brian Kelly's out at LSU, fired,
Yep.
gone.
Yep.
Joe Sloan, what's his name? Joe Sloan, I think.
Sloan. Yep.
The OC, he gone. See ya. Right before a huge rivalry game. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. Isn't that like the 90th meeting or something? I think it's a big milestone, I think, for
Yeah,
you
I think it
guys.
might be. But both teams coming off a bye, so LSU's got, they've had 2 weeks to kind of get things right or change whatever they want to change. I feel like I hate to say it and compare it, but it kind of feels like the Florida State game. Like we don't really quite know what to expect.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Wilson,
Yeah, taking over as head
running backs
coach.
coach, is stepping in as intern head coach or interim head coach. And, look, that's wild, right? I mean, one week you're coaching the running backs. The next week you're leading the whole LSU Tiger team into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's no easy task. In fact, I looked up his. Let's see if I can get to it real quick. His head coaching record. Not that it really has anything to do with this game, but from 2016 to 19, he was the head coach at Texas San Antonio and went 19-29. And then 2 years at McNeese State, he went 7-11. So not a great track record when it comes to being a head coach, but he also hasn't had the talent that LSU has. And, everybody's been talking about that interim coach bump that everybody gets this year, stepping away from their coach. So, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close. It seems to always be close, except for the last couple of years with Jalen Milroe. But man, this one always scares me. It just always scares me.
Okay, but here's the question, right? Will these players actually play for each other right now? So, like, a coach gets canned mid-season. You kind of either see a team come together like brothers or like a straight up meltdown. I don't think there's any in between.
Yeah.
So, are they going to rally behind each other or just kind of pack it in?
Yeah.
Right.
Here's what I think. I think if LSU can keep it close to the first half, they come out fighting the rest of the game. If Alabama can get a couple scores early, I don't really see LSU hanging around and trying to stay in the game. But if we start slow, or maybe they have a gimmick play or we have an early turnover or something like that. The fact that the game's in Tuscaloosa really makes me feel a little bit better about it. If this game is in Baton Rouge at night, anything could happen there. I think Alabama wins no matter what, but it's the question of, do we beat them by 35? Do we beat them by, a field goal late in the
Yeah.
game? So,
I mean, I'm curious how much NIL has changed everything, right? So, back in the day, guys had pride, loyalty to the
yeah,
school, all that for the team stuff. Now, you got dudes getting paid and hopping in the portal mid-season after the first 2 games, 3 games, treating it like, a business. And again, I'm not mad at it. Players should get paid. They earn it. But man, sometimes it feels like dudes just kind of grab, the check and tap out.
sure.
Because I mean, look, we all know that LSU has some major talent, right? That
Yeah.
roster's deep.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
just
mean,
curious how those players are going to respond, whether it's going to actually look like, what it's going to look like when they kind of roll into Tuscaloosa, right?
yeah. I mean, there were people that saying they were the favorite for the national championship this year. With Nussmeier coming back at quarterback, they've got a pretty deep receiving core. Apparently, they haven't been able to run the ball this year, and their offensive line has struggled. I don't know if that's injuries or just haven't found the right combination yet. And their defense for the last couple of years has been suspect. And so maybe that's something we can expose with Ty Simpson and our receivers. But I feel like we've got to figure out a run game. like at some point, even if it's not this week against LSU, say we can throw the ball 30 times, 35 times with Ty and still get it done. You got Oklahoma looming, who's going to be all over you
Yeah,
defensively.
yeah,
And we saw that last year. They made us one-dimensional, and Jalen Milroe would look confused the entire game. Uh, so I'm hoping to see Jam Miller should be a little healthier, 2 weeks off, with a week off. I'm hoping our offensive line can get a push and we can establish a little more run and not put everything on Ty Simpson every single week.
yeah. And LSU, they're going to run the football, right? So they have to, and they've been terrible all year. Well, at that, which is kind of surprising. I know their O line is banged up, but that's that coach's bread and butter, right? He's kind of an old school coach. Be physical, be patient, wants to kind of slow the game down. And look, I looked it up. Alabama's almost given up 5 yards a carry,
Mm-hmm.
almost, and that's a lot. And
Yep.
and LSU has had 2 weeks with the bye week as well. Time to get healthy, kind of settle the chaos. Let's build a plan that actually kind of fits what we want to do. And they got Atkins calling plays. He's an O line guy.
Yeah.
And while he was at FSU, he was technically the play caller on paper, but even though everybody knew, Norvell called the plays, but if LSU can pound it and keep Ty Simpson off the field,
Yep.
maybe force Bama into a kind of grinded out game and hang around until, deep in the second half, they got a shot, but
Yep.
it's a tough call. I mean,
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like the blueprint is for LSU. If they can run the ball, and we may have talked about it in an earlier podcast, but we tend to give up at least one big run a game, and that it's a 70-yarder, it's a 58-yarder, whatever it might be. And then after that, it's like, I don't know if we make an adjustment or the defense wakes up, but we've been pretty stout the second quarter on against the run, but for some reason, the first quarter, it's like Swiss cheese with our defense and the run game. And like I said, if LSU scores early and gets some momentum, I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen. They've got a top 5 roster in college football.
yeah, for
Their
sure.
quarterback was the preseason Heisman favorite. Like, they've got talent on the field. So if they show up, we could be in for a battle.
Yeah. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, LSU, they got to get aggressive. They got to throw the kitchen sink at Ty Simpson. You can't sit back and play scared. You need turnovers. You need pressure. You need somebody to kind of come out early and set the tone, right? The problem is if you're going to stack the box, like Alabama's got dudes at wideout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are friggin' burners, and
Yep.
and if you load the box, you're going to get torched deep. I mean, it's been proven. So it's kind of pick your poison, right? Right now with them and LSU's defense, because the only thing I know they've been kind of allergic to consistency. Like they're all over the place, right? But if they want to make it interesting, they got to steal a couple possessions, punch Bam in the mouth right in the beginning, hang around for a few quarters, keep it close, and kind of see how Bama responds and see what they do.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Makes me nervous. The whole thing makes me nervous.
Well, as far as how Alabama wins, I think that they're coming off a bye week. Also, like you said, they should be rested, healthy, locked in, right? And in years past, this is kind of when like Nick Saban's team started clicking, right?
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of Bama makes their money, in November. But I'm wondering if DeBoer will, follow that same path. You know what I mean? His teams. But I know they got to run the ball better. And I know you were talking about Jam Miller, and I think he's only had over 100 yards one time this season.
One time. Yeah.
And that's the only person, right? And on any of the running backs. But, of course, that was one of their biggest wins against Vandy, right? So they have to run the ball. And when you get into championship weeks like this, like towards the end of the year with the rivalry week at the end of the year, and as, late in the season, you win with running the ball and playing defense. And I know that Saban always said that, right? That's what travels. It doesn't matter if you're at home, on the road, in a playoff game, a tough running game and a nasty defense is always going to show up and travel. And this week, LSU's got some holes, right? I guess at linebacker, one of those the weak boys, right? I'm not sure which one it is. There's
The one
3 of them there.
Kiffin's daughter.
Yeah, but I know he's out, right?
Is it
So
yeah,
he's a big piece.
Weeks, I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. So there's opportunity there for you guys to kind of prove the running game.
Yeah.
But with Simpson, man, I think this is obviously a big one on his resume to keep the season rolling and potential Heisman. 20 touchdowns and one interception or something is crazy, or something like that. And yeah, I mean that's crazy. And you got to continue to throw those routes to the wide receivers, whether it's like deep crossing routes or utilizing the middle of the field, and hit that tight end and intermediates in the flats, and hit the running backs out of the backfield, and the quick screen game to the receivers. They do all that, but I think he's going to have to use his legs. I think Ty Simpson's going to have to use his legs if LSU brings a lot of that heat and the pressure, because one of the things is that it looks like LSU has struggled with mobile quarterbacks all year, with Pavia and who was it, Reed from A&M.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we saw it against or FSU. Simpson, when he gets out of the side of the pocket, he can cause some problems. I just think against FSU, he kind of made some bad decisions once he got out of the pocket, and he
Mhm.
came up short on a couple runs and stuff like that. But if he can extend plays, move the chains with his feet, keep LSU guessing, that changes the whole dynamic on offense, and kind of puts some pressure on the defense.
Yeah, I mean,
Listen,
if you look at the last 2 years with Milroe at the helm, put up 42 points both times, beat them 42-28 and then 42-13, and that was, I mean, almost 90% on Milroe's legs. I mean, that was the game plan from the get-go. Ty Simpson, obviously, from an athletic standpoint, is not Jalen Milroe, but I do think he's athletic enough to not bust a 60-yard touchdown pass. But like you said, if it's a 3rd and 8 and they're dropping deep, I think he can pick up those 8 yards and move the chains. And that's really all we need from him with his legs. We don't need explosive plays out of him. Our receivers will do that. And, Cuevas, our tight end, has kind of come on strong the last few weeks. Um, that's funny. Like between Cuevas and Bernard, like I think they're Ty's top two options, and then you still have Ryan Williams just running around at any time, could bust one. So we've got some guys healthy in the receiving core that makes us a little bit deeper. A couple of freshmen that didn't play the last couple of weeks, and they should be back. I wonder, like, can LSU score enough with Alabama? Like I have a lot of faith in Kalen DeBoer with a week off and a week to prepare, and even not knowing quite what to expect. I think we're comfortable enough in our own skin right now and knowing who we are that they're going to put together a pretty good game plan for this week.
yeah, I think defensively for Bama, I think LSU will actually probably come out on fire on offense, right? Throwing multiple looks, formations, motions, and they'll probably have a good scripted first drive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Most teams do, right? You can
Everybody
tell, like,
does.
they're just
Yeah.
moving the ball on the first drive, and then things settle down. But Bama needs to stop the run, obviously. And then make Nussmeier throw the football, make him push the ball downfield into the teeth of the secondary, kind of where Bama is best at, right? I mean,
Yep.
but, if Bama's defense can do that and the offense can, run the ball a little bit more, I think that's just Bama's formula. Be physical, be efficient, get the crowd hype in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that's just classic Bama ball to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. And a night game helps. It always helps, right? So if you're going to Baton Rouge at night, it makes that game 10 times tougher. I think the same thing's true for most stadiums, but Tuscaloosa with all their crazy lights going on and giving those fans, like we've said before, just giving them all day to get ready, loosened up a little bit. Just the atmosphere is going to be electric. I think the fans smell blood in the water, given the fact that Brian Kelly is no longer there. So we'll see. We've just got to show up. We've got to show up and do what we do. And if we do that, I think we'll be okay. If we
So
turn the
will
ball
you do
over, I
that?
don't care.
What is your score prediction?
We're 10.5 point favorites. I'm gonna say like a 34-21. We
Okay.
cover
You'd be happy,
for
right?
the
Just get the
spread.
W.
Yep. I think it's close. I really do. I could see it being close in the first half. And then I think we just kind of pull away slowly in the second half, just kind of like we've done with with our last few games. But man, like if we come out like we did against Georgia and just boat race them in the first quarter, I don't think LSU's got
The
I'm
one
trying to
two.
think of politically correct way to say it. But yeah, want to, that's good.
Yeah. They don't have the 1-2.
Yeah, to fight back. Like Georgia has that, they've got the confidence. They've got that feel about them, and LSU, I just don't think they do right now. It'll be exciting either way. I'll be eating good, you know.
Yeah. I think Ty Simpson's going to have a big day. I think the wide receiver core is going to have a big day from Bama. I think the defensive line for Bama is going to have a huge day with the
Mhm,
struggling O line. Okay.
mhm.
I'm predicting a blowout. Now, I know I was wrong last week with Wake and FSU.
I was
So
right.
take this for what it
Yeah,
is.
that was one of the ones I got.
Yes, you did. I'm going Alabama Crimson Tide 41, LSU Tigers 17.
Okay.
Again, I think it's probably close for the first quarter, but after that, I just think that Bama's going to wear them down. They're too good. There's too much talent. I think LSU is going to get down by 20 points and just kind of pack it in. DeBoer is going to run the score up if he can, and set the tone for the rivalry for the next few years with the new coach coming in. So
Yeah, yeah.
41-17, Bama in a blowout.
I love it. I love it. Nothing better than sitting on the back porch just with your feet up, relaxing during a football game.
Yeah, you've been used to that many years now. You know,
Those days are changing though. But I'll take it. I would not obviously not be disappointed with that. I think a big key for LSU is Nussmeier. Is he healthy? He's been banged up all year. He just got a week. He's been playing a little bit better. And I don't know. Now that Brian Kelly's not there, they're blaming him on the offensive woes for LSU and handcuffing Nussmeier, which to me kind of seems a little silly knowing that you've got the potential Heisman Trophy winner on your roster. LSU seemed to manage Jaden Daniels pretty well and let him kind of do his thing. So I don't know. We'll see. I do think they're going to come out with some gimmick stuff and have some different looks that we probably haven't seen on film. I mean, if they're smart, at least that's what they'll do. And hopefully, Womack or DC can make some adjustments and we'll just sell in the game and do what we do.